So, as I've been harping on about for hours now, I've basically just been trying to explain that we live in a left-wing society, even if we have a right-wing government, because the left-wing control everything that matters. They control the conversation. Freedom of speech isn't just the right to be able to say something. The point of saying something is people are supposed to hear what you say. Telling me that I'm allowed to go and say what I want in the middle of the woods on my own isn't really freedom. It's the point of the freedom of speech thing is that all ideas are supposed to be on the table for everyone to discuss. Because the idea there is that we're supposed to reach the best ideas by debating all of the ideas. You can't take some of the ideas off the table, go, no, we don't like them, we're not allowing that. Let's debate what we have left. Oh, right, we just have left all the stuff that you like. Isn't that convenient? You're rigging the game when you do that. That's why you're not supposed to do that. Oh, but if we let all ideas on the table, then some bad ones will get on there. Well, first of all, your ideas are bad. Sorry to break it to you. Your ideas suck. And if we have all ideas on the table, even the bad ones, we can then discuss why the bad ideas are bad ideas. Okay? Is that all right? So what does the alternative look like? Like, what if we actually had a right-wing society? Imagine if we had a full-on, far-right, hardcore, Christian, right-wing, as authoritarian as you can get. By the way, authoritarianism isn't a right-wing or a left-wing thing. Both sides kind of accuse the other of it. Authoritarianism is how you implement the rules, how authoritative you are with the rules. And by the way, the left are totally authoritarian with their rules at the moment. That's what they're doing. This is what I'm complaining about. But let's just say we had a right-wing authoritarian, super Christian, you're going to live by those rules. Because earlier on I talked about the right wing and their censorship, and it's like you don't really have any examples of the political right wing censoring left wing people for saying left wing things. You do have examples of like Christians trying to rub out what they see as bad behaviour and pornography. This is what the right wing Christian society would look like. They would say pornography is illegal. They would actually say that homosexuality is illegal. I wouldn't go that far. I don't want that. So I'm not saying it can't go too far the other way, where you're just not allowed to do anything from these guys' sets of rules or those guys. I'm against authoritarianism, no matter who it's coming from. I don't want hardcore, strict rules on people's private lives. I don't want that. But what I do want is everyone from any side, from any idea, to be able to say and present their idea and debate it. And if we think that they're so wrong, we can tell them why they're wrong and outnumber them and say, no, we're not doing that. If you don't believe that you can win that debate, it's because your ideas aren't good enough. The solution isn't to censor those people so that they're out of the conversation and then you can win. It's like, no, you're just cheating. That's literally like we're in a race and I'm like, oh, if I just chop everyone else's feet off, I'll win the race. It's like, but you didn't win the race. You've just sabotaged everyone else. If you want to win the race, you're going to have to train harder and get faster. So this whole left wing are taking over, we're going to censor people, we control everything. That whole era is over. You're done. It's not 100% over, but it's over as in the facade has dissipated. People see through it. People know what's going on now. Even the average person is like, oh, right, certain people just control things and there's an alternative media that I didn't know about. Because it's grown big enough now that people can actually go to it and go, oh, there's like a whole other thing here. But the people that are in control of those things and the power they have, they're not willing to just let go of that power very easily. So I'm expecting a lot of bad things to actually happen soon. Because the only option they have left is to super duper radicalize and ramp up the people that are still listening to them and try and cause some sort of civil war or something. You might hear people talking about civil war and the threat of civil war all the time. And even when Charlie Kirk got shot, a lot of people said this is civil war. And then it's like, see, the right wing are calling for civil war. No, they're not saying they want a civil war. They're saying this is it, it's begun. When you start shooting people for saying right-wing things, it's like, okay, the left wants a civil war with the right. You've just started the war. Oh, we don't actually know it was a left-winger that shot him. Pretty obvious it was. Doesn't matter, the left-wingers celebrating it and going, yeah, it's like, oh, right, so you want a war, do you? The right-wing aren't declaring that we should have a civil war. They're saying, looks like it's civil war. But yeah, as I said earlier, the way the left have been sort of framing this the whole time is they've been acting like these are the times. You just got to change with the times. And it turns out these aren't the times. This is how you wanted the times to be, and people are rejecting it now. COVID opened up a lot of people's eyes. A lot of people, like I said, there's normal people that aren't really into politics. They don't really know what's going on. Even those average people during COVID went, what the fuck is going on? How can you do this? And they wanted answers to those questions, and they found the alternative media. You know, a lot of people in America were pretty suspicious about the 2020 election. Even people that don't like Trump and didn't vote for him, they were like, wait, there was quite obviously something dodgy about this election, and then you just say, you're not allowed to say it was rigged. You're not allowed to say it. You're just making it more suspicious now. That woke a lot of people up and opened their eyes. A lot of people just getting sick with the bombardment of, you know, woke gay flags and Black Lives Matter and shit movies and all this. And they're just like, what is going on? But people want answers to these questions. They don't get them from the mainstream media. They're going elsewhere and getting answers. But what did I say earlier? Yes, the left are trying to frame this as the times are changing. Keep up with the times. And it's not that. It's a facade. But the times actually are changing. What did I say earlier? The times actually are changing because of technology. You know, the 80s was a very different time to live in than now. Why? Well, because technology. Think how different everything is. And this is another thing that is making people question the world they're living in and going, wait a minute, where are we going? I don't think I like where we're going. You know, what is a right-winger? What would you call a right-winger? There's a certain type of person on the right that has a name. They're called a conservative. And what that's always meant is it's someone who wants to conserve traditional values and their traditions. A conservative, someone who wants to conserve things. So you can see how, especially young people, are usually actually influenced, and it appeals to them, this whole idea of being a progressive. Being a conservative seems like some old fart thing, you know, some old person that can't move with the times. Back in my day, you know, that kind of shit. And it's like, but with the change of technology, and technology just keeps speeding up as well. It doesn't go at a certain pace. It speeds up in pace. The difference between the 80s and the 90s was, you know, so much. The difference between the 90s and the 2000s was a bit more of a difference. The difference between the 2000s and now is like as much of a difference as between like the 60s and the 90s. You know, it just changes so quickly now. You've got so much shit. And it's like the 2000s were basically as far as we needed to go with technology. That's about as advanced as we really need society to be. We don't really need to go further than that. We got iPhones in the 2000s. And it's like everything else we get now is like excess. It's like, Jesus Christ, do we really need AI, intelligent fucking robot brain thinky things? Do we really need futuristic dystopian nightmare shit? So this is another thing where just the normal average person is starting to slow down and go, wait, just wait a minute. What, you know, are we moving too fast? And are we going to do something that's irreversible and we can't go back? Because if so, aren't we supposed to have some sort of discussion about where we're going? That's the other thing, is science doesn't really sort of wait around for our permission. scientists and inventors and stuff don't really wait around for us to say it's okay. Like 20, 30 years ago, the idea of AI, most people were against that idea. They've seen Terminator 2 and they're like, no. But now it's just here, and we talk about AI as if it's like some meteor that's heading straight for the planet that we can't do anything about. It makes me laugh. People are making that shit on purpose. And we're like, oh no, what are we going to do about AI? As if we could just like, we could just like not make it, but we talk about it as if it's inevitable. And it's here now. It's been here for a while. It's just going to keep going. But the good news for me is this just makes the average person become a bit of a conservative. Now everyone is a bit of a conservative just because they actually want to preserve our old way of life. We don't want to completely lose our humanity and just turn into like cyborgs. This is what I'm saying. Only a few decades ago, a conservative is like, well, why do you want to conserve things? Well, why can't you move with the times? What, you're just saying you don't think there should be gay people or something? Gay people aren't allowed? Is that too radical for you? Whereas now in 2025, it's like, why do you want to conserve things? Because the world's going insane? We're just like taking off on a fucking alien ship, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I think before we just completely leave our old way of life and human species, planet Earth, like, we need to conserve that a little bit, don't we? So I believe that this is another reason why some people are turning to the right-wing alternative media, is because we're sort of hurtling into the future at light speed, and it's just like, fucking, whoa, slow down a minute. And then they're just hearing all this liberal, lefty, crazy shit, and we're just, like I said, we're just speeding ahead. And it makes them want to listen to something else. It makes them want to listen to the people that are warning you about the future. And then they sort of go down the rabbit hole and end up learning about loads of other stuff, about like politics and which side is which and whose ideas is what. And they just sort of figure out that being a right-winger isn't some sort of like evil, despicable thing. And who they thought they were and what they thought they were living in. They thought they were living in a normal world, but they realised that they were living in a bubble where they're just only allowed to hear one side of things. But yeah, I actually remember being a kid. I was born in 1986. So I don't really like remember the 80s, but the 90s was my decade that I remember like growing up in. And a lot of the movies I watched were made in the 80s and made in the 90s. And you'd watch like these futuristic films, like Terminator and RoboCop and shit and Total Recall. And I remember just like I was just dying for the future to come. I just wanted it now. I used to see all the robotics and the gadgets, and I was too young to really understand like the dystopic view that I was seeing in these movies. Like Demolition Man. Demolition Man is a great one. It's basically a Brave New World, but like a comedy and an action. It's like an action comedy, but most of the stuff that's in it is straight out of Brave New World. But yeah, when I was young, I just saw the gadgets and shit and was like, yeah, I wish it was the future. Because like living in the past was kind of shit, wasn't it? Like everything, we had technology, but it could be a bit better. The batteries in your Walkman run out and you're like, oh. And like mobile phones existed, but only really rich people had them. And I wish we could all just call each other whenever we wanted. I wish I had FaceTime. In Total Recall, they've actually got a telephone where you can see each other on the screen, but they didn't predict how phones would actually be. Like, it's actually just a landline handset phone with an actual TV screen on it. Like what we've got now is so much more advanced than that. We've got a totally flat digital screen. Doesn't need to have a giant box TV on it. And it's just like a touchscreen little flat phone that's in your pocket. It's like 1,000,000 times more advanced than the futuristic movie that they were making back then. Yeah, I just remember being a kid and seeing futuristic stuff and movies and being like, yeah, wish we had all of that. But then by the 2000s, we pretty much have all of that. And also, when I was watching those movies, what I wasn't really noticing when I was a little kid was that a lot of that stuff would suck if it was real. Like in Demolition Man, you need to use your eye. You need to look into this thing to open doors. Like it IDs you by reading the retina on your eye. There's a bit in it where Wesley Snipes digs out someone's eye with a scalpel, and then he's walking around with their eyeball on a scalpel, and he's opening doors with it. But yeah, I didn't really think about how much it would suck if you needed to prove who you are just to get through a doorway, and everything's surveilled, and everyone's being watched on cameras all the time, and everyone's got all of their details on their fucking eyeball scanner. And they've got these things everywhere that are listening to everything you say, and if you say the wrong word, it fines you. But in that movie, it's like if you say fuck or if you say shit or something. Whereas in real life now, it's more like you're allowed to say fuck and you're allowed to say shit, but it's if you say something politically incorrect, then you're going to get in trouble. And so I saw a funny one. Sometimes I go back and re-watch films that I've already seen, but I don't really remember them, especially the futuristic ones, because now we're in the future. And I'm like, let's go back and watch that and see what they got right. I went back and watched Judge Dredd. And there's like some things about it that are actually spectacular. It's actually a pretty amazing movie, but there's other things about it that are just shit. But there's one bit in it that just made me laugh so much. There's like these robots that are on wheels that like are food dispensers. It's like a vending machine food thing on wheels. And it goes around the hallways and it goes, eat recycled food. Eat recycled food. Recycled food is good for the planet and okay for you. It's good for the planet and okay for you. Recycled food. But yeah, the whole time I've been doing this whole freedom of speech rant, I haven't even mentioned global warming, climate change, all of that, because that's just like a can of worms. That is the be-all and end-all. If they can't control you with COVID narrative, if they can't control you by calling you a terrorist because you think the election was stolen, if they can't control you by saying that you're racist for everything you've ever, just for existing and being white, you're automatically racist. And they can't control you by saying that you're homophobic and sexist and all this stuff, and people are just rejecting it and going, I don't care, fuck off, yeah. If you think I'm racist, then whatever. People just don't care. They just go out, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not taking a vaccine, and they just can't control us with that stuff. But the global warming thing is the big one. It's you are destroying the planet. You are the problem. It doesn't even matter what colour you are or what your point of view is or what your sexuality is. Just the fact that you're a human, you're the problem. You're destroying the planet and you're going to obey these rules, otherwise you're bad and you're killing the planet. This is how they really want to control you. And it's like, you're going to eat the bugs. You're going to eat bug protein. You're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to live, you're not allowed to drive. You're destroying the planet. And it's like, eat recycled food. It's good for the planet and okay for you. That's the future that we are being led into. And I think a lot of people are rejecting that and they want something else.